Hello guys, welcome back. Maybe. Bushcraft Family here. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. Yes, I am. Yep. People are going to start fuming halfway through this. But there are some prepping items that, people go hog wild over and stick a lot of money in. If you look at the reports on prices of things and how much they sold over the years, especially the last 5 years, because prepping in the first 2020, 22, 23, it was a big deal. It's calmed down quite a bit. There are still a few people still thinking about prepping, other than homesteaders, that's their way of life. But there are some items that it always seems to kind of irritate me, because somebody will go out and buy a bunch of things and forget about water. You know me, I'm a big thing about water, because we need water. You got 3 days and you're toast. So these are some, to me, overrated prepping items that need to be outed, so to speak. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now this first one, oh man, this I can see the people screaming and hollering now. Guns. Oh, we need these guns, this and that. Yeah, but do you need 50 different handguns? Do you need 20 different rifles? We have to have this shotgun for close range, and we have to have this shotgun for around corners. We have to have this one because it shoots very fast. If I've learned anything, and I'm not an expert in handguns or, whatever the case may be. Now, for handguns itself, there are many different versions. There are revolvers. There are, small little ones that go in your pocket. And there's some big ones that will stop a raging bull, so to speak. Now, I'm not saying, oh, don't get one of these, because it's not a prepping thing. But you don't need, unless you're a collector, that's fine, But for prepping itself, if everything hit the fan tomorrow and you had to leave your place and you have a room full of weaponry, what would you take? Would you get suitcases and start loading up so you can carry it with you? Would you carry 200-pound backpack? That's what I'm talking about. Now, like I said, if you're a collector, this doesn't concern you. But if you're talking about prepping, the word prepping, I don't like that in the first place, but we're going with it. It's the now word, or whatever you call it. But if you had to leave your house on foot, what would you take? That's what you should think of as a prep. Not, 15 different shotguns or 30 different rifles that when's the last time you used all those? You kind of get the gist of it. And I'm going to go completely over that now that we've been past the whole gun situation. The next one is these guys, multi-tools. Now, to me, a multi-tool is a real good Leatherman with it's well made. I know that there are some Gerber fans out there, but again, Gerber is Chinese made. I'm not knocking them or anything, but I do like Leatherman. They are so much better. I've had Gerber because it was the thing, trying to loosen a bolt with just the pliers. You get wiggleness afterwards. Leatherman holds up good. Nowadays they have multi-tool that fits in your bracelet and around your neck and in your hat, and all the credit card multi-tools. China has made so much money off of that because all it is a piece of metal, and they stamp out some weird shapes, and people will purchase those things for multiple millions of dollars that they've made selling those things. eBay's all over the place with it. Not eBay, but Amazon. They have tons of little these things, multi-tools. To me, good sized Leatherman, that's all you need. You don't need two different multi-tool credit cards or bracelets or mechanical hat or something like that. Yeah, I'm just saying, that money could be spent elsewhere. I mean, as long as you have that multi-tool on your belt or in your backpack or in your pocket. There you go. Back in the day, multi-tool was a Swiss Army knife in your pocket. Some tweezers, a little scissors, and a toothpick, and you were good to go. Now we have them for every little, or on our belt buckles and all kinds of stuff. And this is going to get some people too. Emergency food buckets. Yes, they're nice. They're nice, but the price on them. Oh man, some of these that you get. Now I'm not saying anything about them because I've got some buckets, but I got mine that were on clearance because nobody was buying them at the time. So I got them for like 80% off. I would never go out and buy these buckets full price because the amount of food that you get in there, you could save so much money if you made the meals yourself and then put them in the bucket. You know what I mean? Yeah, these buckets, they 60 mils, 80 mils, 120 mils, which comes down to about a fraction of that, what actual people really eat. Their idea of like the breakfast ones, this will feed a family of 4 for 2 weeks. And then you open it up and you got a little bag of this and a little bag of that. And, oh, wait a minute. There's no water in here. How do we mix it all together? Oops. Darn it. We forgot all about that. Again, these meals are very expensive. Not to mention they are not very healthy for you. They can get you by, but if you were eating these things all the time, you will run into some issues. And I know this firsthand because my son's in the military. He eats MREs. He's not fond of them at all. But when they're out doing maneuvers and things like that, that's what they have to eat. Now, when he was stationed over in Syria, that's all they ate for 9 months. And they soon were giving the soldiers things to help them go to the bathroom, because all the preservatives and stuff that keeps that stuff edible for so long is in the when you eat it, it goes over to you, so it preserves the food inside of you basically, and it's not good. But emergency situations, good. You should already have, some planned out meals, rice if you like it, beans if you like it, canned goods, and I mean canned goods that you can yourself. There's meals that you can dehydrate and put in a jar and vacuum seal it. You got a meal. Just add water. Again, water. Many of these things that I'm coming up with, you should be putting water on the top of this list. Now, again, I'm not dissing these things if people have them, but don't make this your only source of your food. There's much more cheaper, more healthier things to do for prepping your food instead of these buckets. Yeah. Okay, here we go with another one here. Okay, for the normal prepper that may never be in a combat situation. I'm not saying you will be or you won't be, but I've seen people invest a mass amount of money for body armor. Again, massive amount of money for this things. Just the plates alone that insert into the body armor. I've seen them get, all the gear, all the clothing, all this stuff, and they're all decked out, and you can see their heads are turning red and there's sweat pouring down from them when they're walking around the house with this stuff on. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad idea or a good idea, but again, thinking about other things of prepping, what would be your list? Food, water, shelter, protection, or protection, shelter. Those types of situations. Now, I'm not saying that, in the near future we won't be in the streets fending off people and this and that. But if you're sitting there taking care of your family and whatnot, you want to make sure they have those other essentials first, and then maybe the body armor stuff. I've seen people buy these thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear that they put on, and they dress up and they run around the house and they roll around in the yard and stuff. Believe it or not, they're in cities that are having issues and stuff like that. They're not running around with body armor and stuff. Even the the third world countries that are at war and things, they're running around t-shirts and flip-flops and whatever. If you put those people in full body armor, they wouldn't be able to get off the ground, half of them. They are extremely heavy. Trying to do anything, just imagine full body armor, going out in your garden and doing garden work. Imagine trying to dig a ditch with full armor. And again, I'm not saying this is not a thing, but again, you have to have priorities in surviving. A lot of times nowadays, unless you have full plates types of body armor, not the fiberglass stuff, a lot of rounds will go through that. And the fact that, say, explosions or whatever, not your whole entire body is protected. Just putting that out there. So if you get hit in other areas that aren't covered by this body armor, did you even get a first aid kit to fix yourself? Does members of your family have training into fixing said wounds and things like that? There's steps to this that you need to consider. I'm not saying, well, that body armor looks so fancy and you look so tough and everything, but yeah, think of the other priorities. Now, we're changing a little bit here. Now, there's been a lot of people, talk about certain types of wheat, certain types of grain and everything. Yeah, wheat. We're just going with wheat. There's many varieties of this that we could go with, but we're just doing straight up wheat. There's a lot of people out there in the prepper community saying buy wheat. Don't buy flour because flour doesn't last very long, which is true. And wheat is a lot cheaper. On the other hand, if you've ever done anything with wheat itself, it is a lot of work. You got to take so much wheat and you break it down. There's hand grinders that you could do, but to make a week's worth of bread, you're talking hours of work to get to that stage. And if one of those pieces of equipment break down, what are you going to do? Yeah, and you have all this wheat and nothing to do with it. Now there's methods, old school ways of grinding it and stuff. But to me, a better option would be stockpiling seeds, just like we're doing on survival seeds collab. Learning how to grow stuff and save the seeds. And, I always think one of the major things that we should be doing is herbs. There's a long list of herbs. Some of the herbs we're doing on Survival Seed Challenge. But there's many more herbs that you could all put in a bundle and vacuum seal them, save them. Would be more efficient than getting 200 pounds of wheat and waiting to break it down to flour and stuff. Growing your own stuff would be just so much more efficient. And I'm not knocking anybody that's got the wheat germ, or all the different types of grain that people stockpile. But again, are you using that, or are you waiting for it to expire and then you're going to buy some more? I'm always all your prepper pantry, or whatever you want to call it, is a working pantry, to where you rotate everything as you're using it, not store it away and then wait for it to expire and go buy more. To me, that's not prepping. That is hoarding stuff until it's no good, and then hoard some more stuff. Use what you got and rotate it in. Sometimes it's tough because the prices go up so high, but then you got to start working back at it. Another thing that I see in some prepper lives is baby wipes. Yeah, I've also made a video on how to make your own baby wipes when there was a baby wipe shortage, because now, since there was a shortage of baby wipes, people have actually been prepping baby wipes for that purpose. But wait, did you even use baby wipes back before 2020 time happened? If you have kids that you change your diaper, yes, you use baby wipes. But if you're an adult and you went and got cases of baby wipes, what do you use them for? You can't take a rag and wash your arm off or something, and guess what? You wash that rag out and you can reuse it. Now I have, survival type things in my bug out bag that are baby wipes, basically. They're not the expensive ones or anything. They're just little hand wipes that you can moisten your face or get debris out of your eyes or something like that. That's fine. But to prep a bunch of these, it's just not, it's kind of useless. When we're at home, where we're supposed to be bugging in, because that's the most important thing, is to bug in. Not as soon as something happens, go and bug out, and then you're out in the woods somewhere with all your preps and everything at your house. Yeah. There are so many more alternative ways, even to make your own baby wipes. You can go search on my YouTube channel how to make your own baby wipes. Very simple. Also, how to make, the disinfectant wipes. People will spend for Lysol and all those other crazy chemical things tons of money on that stuff, when it's just as easy to get a thing of baby wipes and pour some bleach in there. Boom, done, with a fraction of the price. And here we go. Here's the next one. I'm going to hear it now. Gold and silver. Now, it's okay to, pick some of this up here, pick some of it up here, find a cheap auction or something, and you see that they have some gold there that you can pick up, gold jewelry or silver jewelry or something like that. But I've seen preppers, I'm going to have all this stuff to barter with. I have 20 pounds of silver. I have 50 pounds of silver in my my safe and this and that, and I have all this gold, and it comes down to you know, what somebody else is willing to offer you for whatever you're wanting. Say you somebody down the road has 10 cans of chili, and you go down there and you say, I have the silver bar that I'll trade you. It's worth 50 cans of chili. The guy says, that's silver. What do you want me to do with silver? I can't do nothing with it. It has no value because there's no banks, nothing around. I can't go to the gas station and get a pack of cigarettes with a silver bar. Do you have any ammunition? Do you have any alcohol, or do you have any cigarettes? That I could trade for. And that's the main thing I'm getting at. Go to these third world countries. I mean, really into these countries that, and try to trade them a piece of metal for food. You won't get too far. Now there'll be some that know what gold and silver are, and they have means of going somewhere to trade that gold and silver for money. But if things got really bad, the shift thingy, the gold and silver, it'll have value one day, but in an emergency situation when you need to trade somebody for some ammunition or some gas or some food, they're going to want something that they can trade to somebody else, and so forth and so forth. When a piece of metal is not going to be valuable to them during that time. And our next one. I see this all the time. And I think what kind of did it in was, you remember First Blood, the Rambo movies? Sylvester Stallone, his big Rambo knife had a compass on the top of it. Yeah. And you get these compasses now that people put on the paracord bracelets and stuff. Those little things are not very good as a way of finding where to go, and trying to find to read a map or whatnot. Not to mention, most of those smaller little things don't actually use accurate, north-facing things. Now, I'm not saying compasses are bad or anything, but instead of getting those weird little button-sized ones that you can place on the ground and everything, and they're still spinning around trying to find where's north. If you're going to get something like that, get one that's made for navigation. don't rely on those little bitty things to get you from point A to point B, or you know, it's a cool, nifty little thing that's on the top of your Rambo knife, but yeah, we won't go too much into that. But our next thing is, which I have freezers too, but sometimes I see people stocking up on 3 and 4 freezers, and they they prep all this meat in these freezers and stuff, but they don't have a generator if the power goes out. Again, priorities. Um, I don't have a big generator. I just have a big enough generator to power um, my freezer and my refrigerator. And if it's a hot day, I can I can run a AC in one room. Um, it gives me ways to recharge my lights for at nighttime. That's good enough for me. Now, if I was, out in the country, and I would more or less be working and having solar and stuff like that. I wouldn't do it in the city because everybody and their brother sees solar. But again, instead of buying 3 and 4 different freezers and stocking it with all that meat, um, buy a canner, buy some jars, buy some canning lids. I have a discount code down below, by the way. Great company. Um, can all that meat up into meals. Problem solved. The power goes out, it's still fine sitting in the basement. That's what I'm getting at. Priorities. Um, my last one, and I get knives sent to me all the time to do reviews and stuff. And one of the things that I hate seeing is these tactical knives. These big, fancy, combat ish type knives. Um, you know, they're good if you're going to be in a knife fight, but I would rather have a good bushcraft knife that I could beat the living crap out of, and it would always be there for me, than a fancy, shiny knife that I can hold in my hand and have a little hole for my finger and make it spin. Yeah. Knives are good. I have so many different knives. I have a pocket knife that is the size of most people's machetes. Um, as collecting. But if I was going to try to survive, I wouldn't want a tactical knife. I would want something that an all-purpose type of knife, like a bushcraft knife. If I had to be in a knife fight with somebody, um, I would still use the bushcraft knife, um, just because that's what I'm most familiar with and whatnot. I'm not saying I'm not going to be in a fight with somebody with a knife, but that's yeah. And I'm not going to go around trying to find people with knives to fight. If somebody comes at me with a knife, I have another thing that's on my belt that will stop any knife fighter, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, think about the purposes you're going to use this for. Um, and I'll just leave it at that. So, how many people did I irritate with some of my um, my words are not critiques on their prepping and stuff like that? I know there's going to be a lot. I see so many of the bigger channels with all their fancy equipment and stuff that they never use, or they use it brand new for the video, and then it gets put away somewhere and never used again. I did a review on a cooking survival kit, and I used it for probably 6 months before I actually did a video on it, and it looked horrible, but it was well used, and hopefully the people who watched it understood that and say, "Oh man, that's an ugly looking set. I don't want nothing like that." But me, I would see something like that and saying, "Well, that's well used and it still works." So that's what I'm getting. But anyways, I'm gonna stop blabbing. This video's gone on long enough. Until next time, like always, God bless. And think about your priorities. Remember, water is very important. 3 days. There you go. Till next time. I already said that. God bless again.